First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk. Today I want to discuss complacency and fail-safes, and how the failure for you to do your job may affect someone else, because we're all connected. And I think people feel that, well, I could take a day off, I won't be as assertive today in my job, I won't be as effective, thinking that'll only affect them, not realizing that when you limit yourself, when you decide not to be at 110%, because that's what corrections requires, you're not just putting yourself at risk, you're putting others at risk. You're putting the safety and integrity of the facility at risk. And I'm going to give some examples when we come back from our sponsor. Now, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you brave men and women that work in corrections. So please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell is going to notify you every time I post up a video. Stand by for our sponsors. When we come back, we'll be discussing complacency and fail-safes.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Thank you guys for listening to our sponsor. Now, guys, I would like to think that we all agree that in corrections, you have to give this profession 110%, no less. You have to go above and beyond, the extra mile. I mean, so much is dependent on how effective we need to be. So much is dependent on our actions, our inactions. We have to give it all, every day. You know, when I was new to this profession, I think it's funny because as I listen to what some of the old officers had told me back in the past, I actually can start applying these to the videos now because they're kind of like just information that has greater meaning to me now as I furthered in my career. And I remember when a senior officer, something simple, had told me, Gangi, I can't open this door here until you make sure that door is secured. So make sure that door is secured before I open up this one. And now in relationship to this dialogue here, I'm thinking like just to see how both our actions are connected. I have to make sure that my job is complete. Simple as it is, shut the door, make sure it's secured before this officer can do his job, which again is just opening the door. But again, how important my job is to make sure that door is secure so he can be effective and do what he has to do. In the dialogue here, simple. Our actions are dependent on each other. If we fail to do something, it doesn't just affect us. If we do something wrong, it doesn't just affect us. It affects our coworkers. It affects the volunteers. It affects the inmate population. So the choices we make or the choices we don't make are not just our own in this environment. That's why you have to give it 110% because you're responsible for the environment. Plain and simple. Now, complacency is a very deadly enemy, very sneaky, very slow moving. You don't realize it's on you until it's on you, and most likely someone else may have to come up to you and say, hey, yo, you're being a little complacent here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You've kind of broke away from policy, or the worst thing is while you're talking to this inmate face to face, your hands are in your pocket. I'm sure we've dealt with that. As a supervisor, I would always tell people, especially when you're in a facility that's very slow moving, be mindful of where you're at. Always remember who you're dealing with. I would always have them read up on other stuff that's happening at other facilities. But I wanted them to always think, what if? I don't care how quiet the environment is. What's the worst thing that can happen right now? Think that. Think it through. Keep yourself on your toes. Sometimes you have these faster facilities where the officers are constantly on their toes, staff is constantly on their toes, but then you get the slower moving facilities where just not a lot of action. And then eventually that energy just kind of slowly leaves. And we don't realize we've become complacent at all because, again, it was so slow and subtle. Sometimes we get that in the routine stuff that we do. Searches, tours. I mean, I would like to say 99% of the time, tours should be smooth. 99% of the time, if we do searches, we may not find major contraband, maybe just nuisance contraband. And speaking of searches, that's what's bringing me to this dialogue right now because of a message that I got in my email. So there's an officer right now that's partnered with somebody that he feels is just kind of not as effective as they should be. They're doing searches, and why this officer's devoted trying to find something, this other officer's like, hey, listen, we've been here for 10 minutes. Come on, let's just move on to the next thing. Let's move on to the next thing. And the officer has told them multiple times, hey, listen, man, we haven't fully searched this area. I have a system. I have things the way I want to do it, and I'm not rushing through it. And the officer's just kind of pacing back and forth. So he's told the officer multiple times, listen, you have to search effectively because God forbid you overlook something because you know, you're not making the effort to check and you're not going at it that 110%. The officer in response is like, listen, we never find anything anyway. So it's like a waste of time. And of course it's not a waste of time. I mean, guys, this is simple 101. I don't care if you searched, you know, you're on your 100 search and you haven't found something the first 99 times. What I care about now is this 100 search you're on. Are you giving it 110%? I don't care about the past. I care about now, in this moment. When you leave, are you confident that you did what you had to do to make sure that there was no contraband in that cell? Nothing's perfect, but did you at least make the effort, the 110% effort? Because again, if there's a contraband there and someone gets hurt or killed, you have to live with that. You have to live with knowing that you could have been better at what you did and you decided to be less effective and complacent. And again, all because you haven't found nothing, you know, in the last 99 searches. It doesn't mean that you go at that 100th one with any less energy. No, you go to each search at 110%. Some people don't realize that, you know, they lose a bit of that energy when they don't find something. So again, you always have to be mindful and remind yourself, come on, man, go back at it, 110%, 110%. Always, you know, don't dog it. And again, it's tough because it's that routine, but you have to be mindful that, hey, I didn't find something yesterday, but it doesn't mean I can't find something today, and go at it 110%. But what makes matters worse, and why I'm doing this video, is in some facilities, I would like to say all facilities, but nothing's 100%, housing unit officers are responsible for 3 living area searches, 3 bed areas, if you will. And it's good because they should be random and it keeps inmates on their toes. So he was telling me a story where the officer had forgot towards the end of the shift to do his searches. And instead of telling the supervisor, like, hey, I forgot to do the searches, I wasn't thinking, I'll double up on them tomorrow if need be. What this officer decided to do is write the searches in the logbook. So first off, he's lying. That's a whole nother different level. But just on another perspective, he wrote 3 searches that he did not do, that he did not even make an attempt to do. And then he put that in the logbook. Now again, lying in a logbook's a whole nother different issue. But also on another note though, and this is the point of this discussion here, is that if I'm an officer and I'm coming in onto that next shift and I look into that logbook, I'm trusting that you were effective in what you did. And when I look to see those 3 searches, I trust that those 3 searches were done. You didn't do those searches. So therefore, there could be contraband there. There could be something that poses a threat to my safety and well-being, but I'm not going to know that because you lied in this logbook and I'm blindly trusting you. If I was a supervisor, I'd rather hear an officer come to me and say, hey, listen, Gange, I forgot to do my searches. Again, I'll double up tomorrow. You know, I'm sorry, as opposed to you doing that. You doing that and lying in that logbook, that's disgusting. That literally is an officer who does not care about their job, about the role they must perform, and ultimately the safety and security of this facility. You forgot to do your searches, so all you did was cover your own ass by lying and documenting that you did these 3 areas. That has nothing to do with safety and security for others. That action is all about protecting yourself. And I'm wondering if you guys ever dealt with that. Curious. As always, guys, the show is Tear Off. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.